Imagine you are going to a graveyard at night with your friends. The time is around 12:30 a.m. The night is lit by the bright moon, making it easy to see all around you because it's the night after a full moon. The weather is pleasant, and a gentle breeze whispers through the leaves, making a soft sound. Suddenly, you find yourself alone in that graveyard with no one around. The entire graveyard is silent, with pin-drop silence. You feel like someone is watching you from a distance, but you can't see him, her, or whatever it is. Would you run with all your might to get out of that graveyard, or stay calm and face whatever it is? Just imagine, guys. Well, this is not just a script. It actually happened to someone around the age of 23 or 24. The story begins now.
12 years ago, I experienced a night that still sends chills down my spine. As Muslims, we hold the 15th of Shaban with immense reverence, believing it's the night Allah decides the matters of the year. I was young then, and whenever a holy night approached, I would visit my grandmother's house to spend time with my cousins and enjoy our family traditions. On that particular night, my cousins and I gathered to offer prayers at the Grand Mosque in the area. It was our tradition to stay awake all night, and before the Fajr prayer, we would have our sehri and begin our fast. After our prayers, we decided to visit the graveyard to pray for our deceased loved ones. The graveyard, usually a place of peace, had a different, almost mystical ambiance that night. As we entered the graveyard, we saw others who had come for the same purpose. The moon was full, casting an ethereal glow on the headstones, and the air was filled with a whispering breeze that rustled the leaves of the trees, making a soft, sibilant sound. We gathered near the graves of our relatives, and while my cousins and friends talked, I became deeply engrossed in my dua. The silence around me intensified as I poured my heart into my prayers. I was so absorbed that I didn't notice my cousins and friends leaving the graveyard. When I finally finished my dua and looked up, I realized I was completely alone. The graveyard, which had felt serene, now seemed eerie and foreboding. It was around 1 a.m., and the darkness felt oppressive. I stood up, trying to calm my rising fear, and looked around. I felt a strange presence, as if someone unseen was watching me. I started walking towards the gate, but confusion set in as I couldn't remember which gate we had used to enter. In my disoriented state, I headed towards a gate that was farther away from the one we had originally used. I walked through the gate and found myself in a deserted street. Some streetlights flickered on, while others were broken, casting long shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Faced with the choice of a long, winding path to my grandmother's house or a shorter, more direct route to the mosque, I chose the latter. The street was eerily quiet, and every sound seemed amplified in the stillness. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. I heard soft footsteps behind me, but fear kept me from looking back. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the sound of a twig snapping. My heart raced, and without thinking, I started running. Panic fueled my legs, and I ran as fast as I could, feeling as if something was right behind me. The fear was palpable, and I didn't dare to look back. I ran and ran until the familiar sight of the mosque came into view. Bursting through the doors of the mosque, I saw my cousins sitting there, calm and unaware of the terror I had just experienced. They didn't even notice my absence, assuming I had been with them all along. Trying to mask my fear, I joined them, not wanting to reveal how scared I had been. But inside, my heart was still pounding, and the adrenaline coursed through me. As the night continued, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something had followed me. The memory of the graveyard stayed with me. The sense of an unseen presence, the fear that gripped me, and the desperate run to safety are etched in my mind. It was a night that taught me about the thin veil between our world and the unknown, and it remains a chilling reminder of that eerie experience. Years later, I still wonder what it was that I felt that night. Was it just my imagination running wild in the eerie silence of the graveyard? Or was there truly something supernatural watching me? The questions remain unanswered, but the memory is as vivid as ever. The graveyard visit on the night of the 15th of Shaban has become a tale I share cautiously, a story that reminds me of the mysteries that lurk in the shadows, unseen but deeply felt. That night, the moonlight shone brightly, illuminating the path but casting deep shadows that seemed to shift and move. The wind whispered secrets as it flowed through the trees, and the silence of the graveyard was almost tangible. Every rustle of leaves, every flicker of light, and every distant sound amplified my sense of unease. The graveyard, a place of rest and peace, had transformed into a realm of suspense and mystery. As I reflect on that night, I realize how our minds can play tricks on us, especially in places associated with death and the afterlife. The experience taught me to respect the unseen and to be aware of the thin line that separates our world from the unknown. It was a lesson in fear, courage, and the power of faith to overcome the deepest of fears.